You're not going to believe what happened to me this summer. So I've got this pool, nothing crazy, just something I worked hard to afford. I put in the money, dealt with all the permits, and handled every single headache that came with building it. But apparently, that wasn't enough for my neighborhood's very own HOA Karen. You know the type, clipboard in hand, fake smile, always watching. She showed up at my door one afternoon, sunglasses on, voice full of fake concern, and said something like, "It's not fair that only you have a pool. We're a community. You should share a tour, at least build one for others too." I honestly thought she was joking. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. I laughed it off, thinking there's no way. She was serious. But she doubled down. She even brought up some obscure HOA bylaw she claimed supported her argument, trying to guilt-trip me into giving up my pool or footing the bill to build one in the common area. I said no. I mean, who wouldn't? That pool was mine. That no. Didn't sit well with her. The look on her face said all this wasn't over. A few days later, strange things started happening. I'd come home to wet footprints around my backyard. Pool chairs were moved. Once, I even noticed a fresh towel draped over my fence. I thought maybe kids had jumped the fence, or maybe I forgot to close the gate. But then, I checked the security footage, and that's when I saw her. Karen, in broad daylight. In my pool, floating like she owned the place. I was stunned. I mean, who does that? And this was just the beginning. I confronted her, and things got way uglier than I expected. What she said next. Let's just say it took this whole HOA drama to a level I never thought possible. After seeing her on the security camera, I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. How could she just break into my backyard like that? I mean, this is my private property, not some neighborhood pool party. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense why she felt entitled. Karen's been a fixture in our HOA for years, always pushing her ideas of community rules and fairness, but usually on her own terms. Everyone in the neighborhood kind of tiptoes around her because she has a way of twisting things to make herself look like the victim or the hero, depending on what suits her. A little backstory might help explain this whole mess. Our HOA is one of those tightly run communities with a lot of rules that supposedly keep things neat and friendly. But underneath all that, there's a lot of tension. Karen has always been vocal about improving the neighborhood, which often means trying to control everyone else's property. She once tried to convince the board that nobody should have lawn decorations except her. And when people pushed back, she somehow got the board to enforce some weird restrictions that made it harder for us to personalize our homes. When I built my pool, it stirred up the pot even more. Some neighbors were excited, but Karen saw it as an opportunity to push her agenda. She started showing up at meetings, talking about how exclusive my pool was and how it went against the idea of community spirit. Honestly, it felt like she was looking for a fight from day one. But what surprised me most was how far she was willing to go. Breaking into my backyard wasn't just a one-time thing. The next few days, I noticed little signs, missing pool toys, random towels left behind, even some snacks on my patio table. It was like she was making a statement, daring me to confront her. And when I finally did, her response shocked me. She said something about claiming what belongs to the community and setting things right. That's when I realized this wasn't just about a pool, it was about power, control, and something deeper that I hadn't expected at all. Things started spiraling faster than I expected. After that confrontation, Karen didn't back down. If anything, she became more aggressive about making that pool a shared space. She began rallying a few neighbors who felt left out or annoyed by the whole situation, convincing them that my pool was somehow selfish and unfair. At neighborhood meetings, she'd bring it up, like it was a serious community issue, something about equal access and HOA responsibility. It felt less like a real discussion and more like a campaign against me. What made it worse was how some neighbors started turning against me. A few who used to be friendly now gave me cold looks or whispered behind my back. It was frustrating because I wasn't doing anything wrong. I paid for that pool with my own money, followed every rule, and kept everything in order. Yet suddenly, I was the problem. I even found a note on my door one morning, polite on the surface, but dripping with passive-aggressive warnings about sharing is caring, and the community comes first. It was clear Karen was stirring the pot, playing on people's insecurities and sense of fairness to isolate me. Meanwhile, the HOA board was stuck in the middle. Some members sympathized with me, recognizing Karen's tactics as extreme, but others were uneasy, worried about escalating conflict. A few hinted at wanting to avoid drama altogether, suggesting maybe I should just compromise for the sake of peace. But what compromise looks like when someone's breaking into your backyard and using your pool without permission? That question haunted me. To add to the tension, there were rumors going around that Karen was planning to build her own pool in the community area, using HOA funds. That idea seemed to be her way of justifying everything if she had her own pool, then maybe her behavior would seem less crazy. But honestly, I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't really after a pool at all. This was about control, about proving a point, and maybe even about making me feel powerless. The whole neighborhood felt charged with this unspoken conflict. And every day, I wondered what Karen would do next. Would she keep pushing until things broke? Or was there a line even she wouldn't cross? I had no idea. But one thing was clear: the battle over my pool had turned into something way bigger than I ever imagined. The tension in the neighborhood was reaching a boiling point. Every time I stepped outside, I felt eyes watching me, some filled with sympathy, others with suspicion. Karen's presence seemed to loom over everything, like a storm waiting to break. She wasn't just showing up at meetings anymore. She started dropping by my house at odd hours, claiming she needed to inspect the pool or check for safety issues. It felt more like intimidation than concern. One evening, I came home to find the gate to my backyard left wide open. My heart raced as I walked in, half expecting to see her there again. The pool was still, the water calm. But there were signs someone had been there recently: footprints by the edge, a pool float drifting where I never left it. It was like she was daring me, pushing boundaries to see how far she could go. The HOA meetings became battlegrounds. Karen was relentless, presenting her plans for a new pool in the common area, using HOA money and community labor. She painted it as a gift to the neighborhood, but everyone knew it was a power play. Some neighbors whispered that Karen's influence on the board was growing and that she was maneuvering to gain even more control. Meanwhile, I was feeling cornered. My pool, which was supposed to be my private sanctuary, had become the center of a neighborhood war. The arguments, the passive threats, the break-ins, it was wearing me down. I started installing extra cameras and stronger locks, but deep down, I knew it wasn't just about security. Karen wanted to send a message, and every small victory she had over me made her bolder. Then, things took a sharp turn. One afternoon, I got a call from a neighbor, breathless and upset. Karen had been spotted in the backyard again, this time. Not just swimming, but hosting a group of people, laughing and treating my pool like it was hers. It was the last straw. The quiet battles, the passive aggression, it all exploded into something I couldn't ignore anymore. I knew I had to confront her head-on. But I wasn't sure what that confrontation would bring. Would it finally end this madness, or would it push Karen to take things even further? The whole neighborhood was watching, waiting for what would happen next, and so was I. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more intense, the situation took a shocking turn that I never saw coming. After the neighbor's call about Karen throwing a pool party in my backyard without permission, I decided to review the security footage again, hoping to catch everything on camera so I could finally put an end to this nightmare. What I saw made my blood run cold. It wasn't just Karen sneaking in anymore. There was someone else, someone I never expected. Late at night, when the neighborhood was supposed to be quiet, a few other people showed up at my property. They weren't just casual visitors. They moved confidently, almost like they belonged there. And worse, they seemed to be helping Karen. They fiddled with the gate locks, moved things around in the pool area, and even carried equipment that looked like it could be used to modify the pool itself. It felt less like an invasion and more like a coordinated takeover. I tried reaching out to a few neighbors, hoping someone else had noticed something strange. To my surprise, a few whispered rumors confirmed that Karen wasn't acting alone. She had been recruiting people in the community who felt overlooked or wanted to challenge the HOA rules, promising them a place at the table if they backed her plan. It was like this whole pool drama was just the surface of a much bigger, more complicated conflict brewing in our neighborhood. At the same time, the HOA board seemed paralyzed. Some members were clearly torn between supporting me or siding with Karen's growing faction. There were secret me. The tension finally reached its breaking point one late afternoon when Karen and her group showed up at my door, more confident than ever. They came with a stack of papers, claiming they had support from the HOA board to officially make the pool a community resource. My heart sank as they laid out their demands, talking about shared ownership and equal access like it was already decided. I knew I had to stand my ground, but I also realized this battle wasn't just legal, it was personal. I invited them all inside and, quaintly but firmly, explained that the pool was built entirely with my own money on my property, following every HOA guideline. I showed them permits, receipts, everything. But what shocked everyone was when I revealed the security footage. Proof of the late-night break-ins and tampering with the gate locks. Faces shifted. Some looked guilty, others defensive. Karen tried to brush it off, but the evidence was clear. Just as I thought I had the upper hand, the unexpected happened. One of the neighbors who had been supporting Karen quietly stepped forward and admitted something that changed everything. They confessed that Karen had been using the pool without permission, but also admitted they'd helped her because they believed the community deserved better shared spaces. It wasn't just about control. It was about frustration with how isolated some neighbors felt. In that moment, something shifted. The room grew silent, tension thick. The HOA board members finally spoke up, agreeing to form a committee to discuss pool access and future community projects. No more secret meetings, no more unilateral decisions. Karen looked defeated but not broken, and I realized this wasn't just my fight anymore. It was about the whole neighborhood finding balance between private property rights and community spirit. As everyone left, I thought the drama was over. But then, a message popped up on my phone, a new email from the HOA with a surprising proposal. They wanted me to lead the committee. It was an unexpected twist, turning the conflict into a chance to rebuild trust and reshape our neighborhood. The battle over my pool had ended, but a new challenge was just beginning. Taking on the role to lead the new HOA committee was both surprising and a little daunting. After all the conflict, I wasn't sure if the neighborhood was ready to come together, but I knew this was a chance to turn things around, not just for me, but for everyone who felt stuck in this endless cycle of tension. We started by listening to each other, hearing concerns about community spaces, privacy, and fairness. Slowly, the walls that Karen's demands and my resistance had built began to come down. One of the biggest lessons I learned through all of this was how important communication really is. What started as a simple disagreement over a pool became a reflection of deeper frustrations within our neighborhood, feelings of exclusion, lack of trust, and a desperate need for compromise. By creating a space where everyone could voice their Opinions, we found common ground. We agreed to build a new community pool funded by a voluntary HOA initiative, separate from anyone's private property, so no one felt left out. At the same time, we respected individual property rights, no more breaking in or unauthorized use. Karen and I never became best friends, but there was a mutual understanding. The battles over my pool taught me that sometimes standing firm is necessary, but so is knowing when to lead change. The neighborhood slowly started to heal, with clearer boundaries and more open conversations. I even saw some neighbors who once took sides now working together on community projects. Looking back, this whole experience was about more than just a pool. It was about balance between personal space and community spirit, between standing up for yourself and finding ways to include others. If there's one takeaway from this story, it's that conflict can open doors to growth, but only if we're willing to listen and work through it. My pool remains my sanctuary, but it also became a symbol of what's possible when a community chooses to move forward together.